Hello.
We request all of your guests to please come in and join for the sessions to start. We request all of your guests to please come in and join for the sessions to start. We request all our guests to be kindly be seated. May I request our CEO, Mr. Sajid Kumar, to give a brief for all the participants here to how to utilize the UAE India B2B Center and UAE India B2B FEST for your business effectiveness and your future benefits. So please.
Very good morning once again. So we have started UAE India Business Fest 2018. Last year successfully we had completed UAE India B2B Fest 2017. How to utilize from India and UAE the existing business class and investors and upcoming investors and business class. Ibmc started the UAE India B2B portal in the year of 2016 to provide SME, MSME companies to change their status from domestic to international level. Ibmc is supporting them by providing UAE India B2B portal registrations. So from India, 29 states, anyone can able to register. They can visit UAEindiab2b.com's website. They can register their companies, whether it is SME or MSME or MNC. They can register in the portal UAEindiab2b.com. From UAE, from the 7 Emirates, the domestic players, they can also start registering into UAEindiab2b.com website. By registering this, automatically, they are elevating the status of domestic to international. By registering from UAE business class can able to view India business class. UAE is focusing for non-oil sectors. They can also select right partners from India for business. Similar way, India business class are also can select the partners from UAE. So this is automatically matching, and the basic due diligence is doing from Ibmc side. Ibmc Kochi Business Center is there. Ibmc Dubai Business Center is there to take care entire transactions of UAE. From Kochi office, they are coordinating with the 29 states for making the business matching or investment matching between UAE and India. From India, those companies registering in UAEindiab2b.com, whenever they are coming to UAE for business, IBMC UAE India Business Center is acting as their point of contact to start or to initiate business talks, and we will provide support until establishing their entity in UAE. Similar way, UAE entities, whenever they are going to India, we are acting, our Kochi Business Center is acting as their point of contact and providing all supports to establish the entity in India. So this is the functioning of UAE India B2B Center back in Kochi for India and Dubai for across UAE. We have started IBMC's UAE India Business Fest to empower the SME and MSME companies by the way of presenting their projects, their business plans in this platform as workshops or providing the information in the panel. We are supporting through IBMC's UAE India Business Festival. So this is the 3 steps of support what IBMC taking initiative to support UAE's non-oil sector development activities. Or I hope that information you can able to avail all these services from IBMC Kochi office and IBMC Dubai office. So for this, registering your company into UAEindiab2b.com and availing UAE India IBMC's business center for getting this support to start either in India or UAE business. You can also avail UAE India business projects and overall
Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Nasser Nasri. He will be talking us on the topic importance of the new technology courses in the curriculum to support industries. A brief about Dr. Nasser Nasri. He is a CIS Associate Executive Dean, Computer and Information Sciences, DBM, Higher College of Technology. He's experienced Associate Dean with demonstrated history of working in the Higher College of Higher Education industry, is skilled in Moodle, analytical skills, lecturing, educational technology, and instruction design. Strong educational professional with Doctor of Philosophy, focused in human-computer interaction. Dr. Nasser Nasri, the chair of the Computer and Information Science faculty at the Higher College of Technology, was presented with the SAP Visionary Award from 400 delegates during the SAP Academic Conference in Germany. He provided academic, operational, and strategic leadership to 3,000 students and 100 faculty members at 17 campuses. Please welcome Dr. Nasser Nasri with a round of applause. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Anup. Thank you very much, all. Good morning, everyone. Be aware a little bit. To be here and sharing my knowledge with you guys. That's the second time I'm attending this event. I'm really excited to have such a partnership with the Ibmc. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before I start presenting, let me give you a brief statement about what my talk will be about. Simply put, the world, as you are all aware of it, is witnessing a new era of technology. Every once in a while, we are hearing of a new technology coming from bottom to the surface, and with it, it comes in new jobs, and it comes with it new positions, a new skill set requirement, and at the same time, there is no jobs. Some people will be jobless. Some people's skill set will not be needed. This is happening, especially these days, I think a lot. It happened in the past, but not at the same speed as it's happening right now. The question is, what as educational institution need to know or need to do in order to provide the society, the industry with the skill set that they will be needing? In this talk, I will focus on two main technology, which is blockchain and artificial intelligence. We will spend some time on an overview of each, talking about the job requirement of each, and just saying some word about what universities, what academia should be done in order to bridge the gap between the industry. Yeah, this one? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Overview of each, talking about the job requirement of each, and just making more about what academia should be done in order to bridge the gap between academia and industry universities, between academia and school industry. And this is mainly the thing that really I can see. Academia, it has some issues, and companies, it has some needs and some issues. We in the academia, because I am the dean of the computer information science, I'm aware of when this is mainly we lack the industry knowledge. Things that really I can see. What sort of academic employment there is, some issues, what sort of skill set companies need, how can we bridge the gap between us needs and between the industry. And similarly for the company, because I am the dean of the need from us, the up-to-date talent, what talent needs, and new technology. They really need us to provide the industry with the new talents, with the new skill sets, so we are able to fill up the position that how can technology coming. As I said before, it's normal in life to have changes. For instance, like maybe 50 years back, we have a job called postman. The postman used to bring letters from, for instance, from Europe to my house, and then this kind of nice job it was. Now that job not anymore, but we still have something. We still have something called InPost, DHL, but not for letters. See, that's the speed of the growth of technology. 80, 90 PC, and then internet, social media, all that are normal. From the 80 up to 2018, now things are changing normally. Look at the curve. PC, internet, social media, platform. And then these days, starting and then up to 2025, look how many areas are booming, are coming up to the surface. We have quantum computer, blockchain, robotics, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence, and many, many are coming. That's the thing, and I mentioned that we need the academia to do something in order to meet all these job skill sets in the industry. How many areas are booming? As I said, the surface. We are focusing on two main areas, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. Let's start by the blockchain. As I said again, there is some market need for cryptocurrency growth. It's growing. All of us now, all of a sudden, are hearing of cryptocurrency, bitcoins. Every once in a while, we are hearing of it. Maybe some people are not aware of what is it. Maybe people are not aware how can we invest some money in bitcoins. And because of this, there is not a large enough supply of workers. Because of this lack of knowledge, the industry in need. Maybe if you go to job vacancies, you type job vacancy blockchain, you might find 2,000 job requirements these days. That's why there is not a large enough supply of the demand of the blockchain. And because of this, there is not a large enough supply of workers. As some of you are aware of, Bitcoin was launched 2009. The cryptocurrency, not more than 10 years from now. And that's why maybe people are not aware of this technology, and that's why the supply of blockchain and cryptocurrency specialists does not have currently matching the demand. That's the problem we are facing with the new technology. As I mentioned before, with every new technology, we have some demand because lack of awareness. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. Having said that, universities around the globe have started introducing blockchain programs, blockchain courses, because of the necessity of the industry need of these skill sets. And there are many jobs, believe me now, if you go anyone, you can go to google.com and you find a lot of jobs here in the UAE about the blockchain. Expert, blockchain, developer, blockchain contract, blockchain. That's because if really we need the demand. That kind of thing, I think the academia should be aware of in order to do something so we can bridge the gap between industry and between the universities. As I said, North American universities have started, and this is some universities that have started introducing the blockchain program or blockchain courses or anything that really makes some awareness of their student to be prepared for the next 10 years also concerning the blockchain technology. This is in New York University, Princeton, Stanford, and the other. So many universities in North America have started the blockchain program for their students. Similarly, for the European University, many universities in Europe also have started teaching the blockchain, teaching the student and the faculty, to be honest with you. Even faculty are not highly aware of blockchain. So both students and faculty are in need of this knowledge in order to promote, especially for teachers. They need to promote the learning to the students. As you know, any good university, one of the objectives is to provide the student with the best learning environment. How can we find the best learning environment? I can talk about my college, HCT. We do have, in HCT, we do have an advisory committee that we are meeting with every once in a while in order to find exactly what they are needing in the industry. They can change our curriculum, they can recommend us some changes and the other stuff. And the same thing, I think every other university is having that kind of thing. We do have an HCT, it's not only a matter of providing students with programs, courses. Again, a new initiative that will be taken in HCT under my supervision is to create a sort of club for blockchain. So in that club, we will offer some kind of professional development of works, we'll offer some skills, we will share ideas between the students, and they will exchange knowledge between us and between any organization like Ibmc or any other third party might like to step in and help us understand and share ideas between our students and between the world and between the local market and industry. Professional development. The question is, some skills, we will share ideas between the students, what sort of things we have to prepare our students. What are the courses that we have to introduce into our curriculum so we are satisfying the market need. In order to know that, simply we have to go bottom up. We have to start from the industry. I don't want to start from the bottom. It will not help our students reaching or filling up the vacancies in the industry in the UAE. We have to start from the bottom. It means we have to understand what are the jobs that really might the people be able to do. And then we can offer courses based on these jobs. Some of these jobs are blockchain generalists. These guys will be understanding the general idea and concept of the blockchain technology and the learning outcome of this area. Smart contract developer, I think you are aware of the contract, smart contract between the participant on the blockchain and the way these guys should understand the smart contract and how to code it. They should know Java or Java programming language or C# or C++. So these are the technology required for the blockchain. In addition to this, also we need blockchain developer that again will be developing the whole concept, not only a matter of smart contract, and expert. I need people expertise. I need people, especially at that moment, at present, I need people expert that they can give me the full consultancy and expertise about the way forward in the blockchain area technology. These are the jobs, as I said. These are the job required. These are the job in the blockchain technology required. And based on that, what academia should respond or what universities should respond, especially in the UAE, is that to meet these by providing courses based on that jobs that I have mentioned before. As I said, in higher college of technology, we have started a new course, not a new program, a new course in blockchain, but we are waiting to train our faculty. As I said, it's not easy to start teaching blockchain without having full knowledge from the team to teach the student. That's the plan, and that's the way that to respond to the blockchain requirement in industry. Moving on to the next area of technology, artificial intelligence. As I said, another area that's booming. Everybody is talking now about artificial intelligence, self-driving car, medical treatment, communication, transportation. I think it's booming. Everybody is talking about it, even though artificial intelligence is not new. And when I was a student, I think 30 years back in the UK, we were talking about artificial intelligence. But it was not booming as now because now of the technology, because of the Internet of Things, because of the communication. That's why now it's booming. Based on that, people now start talking about artificial intelligence. Similarly, we need, as academy, we need to provide our students with the needed skill set in artificial intelligence so they are able to fill up the gap in a matter of 5 or 10 years from now. So, if I want to talk about artificial intelligence, I think clearly artificial intelligence, if not now, definitely we will be stepping into these areas. Healthcare. One of the areas is healthcare. Now, there are some kind of prototype. It's not yet ready prototype that when I wake up in the morning, I will go in front of a mirror while I'm making up my tie, push the button, and then I kind of scanning all my body, and it will give me on the mirror what is my blood sugar level, what is my kidney function, what is that, what is this. Simply. When that is happening, and for sure there's no need for lab to go and check my blood level and check my lab sugar and the other stuff. And this is one area definitely it's coming, if not now, maybe in the future. Now, artificial intelligence help, believe me, help doctors to identify oncology, kind of tumors that's happening in the body. Where are they, these tumors? More than the human being, more than the human being. Another area of artificial intelligence is transportation. As I said, transportation is another area that definitely we will not be needing drivers, unfortunately. As I said before, many jobs will be changing. Now we have many cars, that self-driving car, and Tesla is one of them. Though I have heard of an accident, but still I think people are going forward with self-driving car. Regardless of the of the challenges, definitely going to be some challenges. It's not easy to have a car that it's self-driven by itself, without having at the beginning of the problem. Just remember when they have invented the aeroplanes, how many times they were failing and they were falling down and the other stuff. And this is normal. It's unfortunate, of course, but at the end of the day, technology is coming forward. So again, artificial intelligence will be affecting the transportation. There is no need for drivers. So all the drivers that are now getting a job as driver will not be needed maybe in the coming 10 years or so. Yes. Second area is finance. Again, finance, those who are in the finance now, they should now try to find something that might help them finding a job in 10 years from now. Artificial intelligence robots are kind now used as advisory, financial advisory for me. I can use robot. I don't want to use someone else. I can give me all the information I need. I don't have to go and wait for the financial consultant to tell me. I have the robot with me, and then he can give me all the things I need. Simply now, whenever we are traveling outside UAE through Sharjah or through airport, many of us can go without going to the police officer. We can go by the ID, put it, scan, and then that's it, we go, simple. Even in IKEA, I don't know, you might notice in IKEA now, if you purchase something, you don't have to go to the cashier by yourself, blah, 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 and then do. So these jobs will not be needed then. What are the needs of the cashier? What is the need of someone in the airport, police officer, since I can do everything on my own? Then what are the need of these guys? Anyway, these are kind of areas. One more area is education. My area, again, my area. There is no way to continue teaching students the same way that I have been taught when I was a student. Faculty, classroom, and then a student will be listening, and faculty will be giving everything to the student. This will be changed. With the existing of virtual reality, it will be changed. There is no way to keep the same thing. Now we have something called the blended learning environment. I can do through distance, but with the introduction of virtual reality, you can see a classroom in the net or in the space, and you can see yourself. You can have yourself as something called avatar. That's your representative seating. You can see the faculty, your friend, they are all sitting in the classroom, and maybe one from Europe, the other one from Africa, the other one maybe from North America, maybe from Lebanon, from anywhere. So they are in the same class, exchanging ideas, talking, explaining, exactly like you are in the classroom. And definitely this is coming in the future. When it comes, sure, the teachers, maybe not 100% will be trying to get rid of faculty. My good news for me. But there is something to be changed. It will not go at the same pace as 10 years or 15 years or something like this. Again, this is an area that affects the human being as artificial intelligence in education. That's it, yes. Based on that, again, what the university or academy should do in order to fill up the gap? All these jobs I mentioned will disappear. If not now, maybe in 10 years from now. Okay, then if nothing has been done from the university, believe me, there are plenty of jobs that nobody is able to fit, and plenty of people, several people with skill sets are not needed. And this definitely might create a problem for the society. That's why I think university, academia, every institution must step in and find exactly out how can we respond? How can we what sort of courses we should teach our students, our children, so they are able to meet the vacancy or the requirement in 10 years or so from now. So in order to understand that, what are the artificial intelligence, we need to understand what sort of jobs that are related to artificial intelligence. Computer vision, first one. I need to have a computer vision that he is able or she is able to give me exactly how to enter technology. That's one of the virtual reality things that I really need to explore so I can find exactly out what are the skills needed. Machine learning engineer. Machine learning is, believe me, is something that we teach the machine how to think on their own. That's the machine learning algorithm. That's the machine learning. Machine learning is not only to do what I wanted to do, it's also learning by itself. And this is happening these days. If you go to Google now, if you type something, for instance, you go to any area, an application of machine learning. Go to any area, for instance, tourism. And then maybe the next time you look into Google, by itself, it'll give you some ads about maybe Beirut, about Spain, about London. How can they know that you are knowing? If you change your mind, they change again. They're going to change the advertisement based on your questions or query. So this is the machine learning, and I need the people to do machine learning engineer and to be able to implement algorithms and machines at the end of the day. I need security analyst. Security is very important. With that, all technology around the world, we need people to understand security, to analyze it, so we can implement it, because security is very important. That communication creates problem for the society. I need people to understand security and to, again, to analyze security. Cloud engineer. Now it's, if you recall, we used to have tape to record our information, our data on, and then we moved to disk, square one, and then moved to CD. And now there's no need for CD. Even if you buy a laptop, you will not find a CD drive. All your information can be saved in the cloud. And that's why I think we need someone, cloud engineer, to understand the technology, to create, because the cloud is not that simple. Simple for me just to store, but for business, it's that not as straightforward. We need to secure, we need to have a place, we need to pay money, and that kind of thing. So I need the cloud engineer to help me because of the huge amount of data of artificial intelligence from the big data technology, data analysis. I need to understand that technology, and I need someone to help me understanding that in this society. Again, developer. Now it's booming. It was dormant 10 years back, application development. Even in my college, the application development program was not as booming as now. People were focusing on developing application coding, and then dormant, and then now start booming. People are in need of understanding how to develop an apps, how to develop application, website, and other stuff to meet, again, the requirement of the industry. This is very important, as I said, business intelligence. Now I have information from all over the world. As the blockchain and artificial intelligence, many information I have. I need some kind of intelligent engine to understand all that and to analyze intelligently the information I'm getting from all the sources, so I can, again, employ them for our services and for our need. Simple. Back again to the same story as in the area of blockchain. What we should, how as an academy should respond to these needs. We, based on the jobs, based on the job that I have mentioned for artificial intelligence, I believe we should step in and provide our students with programs that offer courses that meet their job requirements. We in HCT have started a program in artificial intelligence, and we are submitting it to get the approval of our accreditor body. So artificial intelligence, again, our job is to provide skill set of students that will be preparing themselves to come to the industry and fill up the workforce needed in 10 years from now. And really, it's not that exciting. We have started a program in artificial intelligence. Conclusion is to get the approval of our accreditor. As I said, things are not artificial intelligence. Again, it will not happen. Believe me, it's serious. As I said, if I want to go back and say that the trend, here, it is normal, as I said, it's normal between the 80 and 90. Some jobs are dying, and new jobs are coming up. This is normal. 90 to 2000, again, look the curve. It's normal over life. That kind of thing is changing and coming and changing, and this is normal. As I said in the postman. But look at the 20 to 25 or so. How many technology we have? We have 5, 6, and the things are coming up. Every once in a while, we are hearing of a new technology. Every day, I'm hearing of a new technology. Maybe my generation are fed up from that technology, but it's something appealing for the people with the age of 20, 30. They are looking forward, maybe, but again, we have to do something about it. Believe me, if nothing can be acted against this technology, in 10 years from now, we have something that's shaking. Is not healthy for every society. With this, I would like to conclude my talk, and thank you very much again. If you do have any questions, please do. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Nasiri, for giving idea about the technology development. Now, the technology development which you have told us, blockchain, artificial intelligence and all that, will take away a lot of jobs and employment problem will be there. Of course, there are new avenues which will be created, as you explained, certain engineers will be needed. But I think the jobs which will be taken off from society will be too many. So how government and society in general is going to cope up with that? That is one. And secondly, are we really ready to, for general public to, there are technical people who understand, but in society, the jobs will be taken off if you be aware of all these, how these problems are going to be solved. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent questions. I think, yes, that's the core of the talk. What government, what institution, what academia should do. I can talk about academy. Government, maybe they should work, but for me, as an academic, I really need to introduce these programs. Students, I think, should be aware of the technology. Blockchain, quantum computing, Internet of Things, robotics, artificial intelligence, all these areas should be provided with the student. Teaching the student the same way that I have been taught when I was a student, it will not help. Because the future is not for the thing that I have been taught when I was a student. So that's the first thing to answer your question. University, academy should also provide the student. Government can support us by providing fund to do some kind of professional development, kind of awareness session that I can enrich my faculty in order to, again, I cannot provide the student with this knowledge unless I provide it for my faculty first. And this is a new technology. I don't want to wait till the people are graduating from this technology and then join me as faculty. I need to train my faculty. I need some fund from the government, from the places that supporting the institution to help me or to help the people in charge in the academy in order to promote that kind of thing. So two things to answer your question in brief. First of all, university should apply these knowledge to their student, not only one university. It should be a kind of thing for all, I believe. Not only my college, higher college, it should be for all. The university, Sharjah University, all universities around the globe, because they have started to be North America and European universities. I think now we have started. I don't want to say we haven't started these technology in the local university. We have started, but we need to strengthen our offer of these courses in order to avail it for the university. So we bridge the gap in the future.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
Well, you touched on that the universities in the UAE are starting to get ready for the process. But how ready they are? Do you feel that we are in a fast-forward mood or we are very slow in this process? And do you think we can meet? I mean, today our university are quite advanced in so many areas. Do you think we will be ahead of the other competitors, or we are going to we'll go with the flow?
Yeah, I can talk in detail about my college because I am aware of the thing going on in higher college of technology, especially in the computer information science division where I am the dean of. As I said, in fact, we discussed with Ibmc kind of training for our faculty, and we are in the process of training them on blockchain. Artificial intelligence, also I spoke with my colleague, which they are here, Mr. Tawfiq and his friend Mahmoud, about providing them with kind of PD for our artificial intelligence for the possibility. So about HCT, I am confident that we are going in the right direction. in order to fill up the gap in the industry. I believe I've heard from other universities that they have started, but I believe there's something more to be done because a little bit we are behind. Other universities, maybe they have done maybe 5 years ahead from us. I believe as a whole, we should move forward quickly, should not wait, because waiting might not be into the interest of our student and our society.
May I request our CEO, Mr. Sajid Kumar, to take lead for the Q&A session, sir, please?
Thank you, Doctor. It was very much informative. It's itself showing that the last 30 years and comparing to the next 5 years, huge changes are going to happen in the technology. So new era is happening. One of the objectives of this UAE India Business Festival also to take a lead in you mentioned that the second slide, the difference or the gap between academia and the industry. So this is the main question everywhere is facing at the industry level or from the academia side also. India Business Festival also. IBMC is taking a lead into that, bringing MNC companies, SME and MSME sectors through this platform. How our companies can able to join with the HCT for empowering your students. So I'm also happy to sit with that HCT's advisory board and giving this support where we can communicate with the right entities, the technology companies. They can also associate with us. So taking my position as also advisor and extending that facility to HCT.
Sure. Again, as I said, student will not be able to learn by their own. I need my faculty to be aware of the technology, not only artificial intelligence, quantum computing, as I said, blockchain, robotics, Internet of Things, Internet of Everything. All these technologies, students will be aware of them after the faculty. What IBMC can step in, IBMC and other partner, because we are also partnering with IBM concerning blockchain, and we are partnering with SAS, data analytics, and the other. They can step in and provide us with a training. I need from IBMC and the other to train my faculty on this technology. Spending some time with the faculty, let them understand this knowledge, it will be helping us in terms of empowering their knowledge so they are able to pass their knowledge to the student in the classroom. In addition to this, we need, again, some kind of certification from industry. Believe me, students, when they are in the classroom and when they graduate, it will be an added value for them to have certificate from industry. For instance, I complete my study in application development. I have from Oracle or from IBMC or any partner with them. I have a certificate in developing application. I have a certificate in CCNE. I have a certificate in artificial intelligence. I have a certificate from Cisco. All these also I need from the industry to step in and assist us. And we have a kind of program to provide our students with this. So again, to brief, two things: the training, awareness, and the partnership with industry concerning certification for the student. I believe it will move forward. Of course, we need faculty to be serious to teach the student, but this is something that beyond the talk for now. So two things: partnership, industry certification, and awareness.
So this platform, again, giving the opportunity to the technology-based companies to join hands with the IBMC to provide this kind of facilities or support to the students. And I would like to give my comments on these two questions came up. One was for the job creation or about the job uncertainty, how it is happening. Second is how it is moving the industry. So first question was that about the job roles. So definitely these academics are changing. That curriculum, they are also adding from the blockchain, even though along with the BSc Institute, IBMC is providing blockchain course to HCT, all colleges across UAE. So such a way, we are also happy to provide to the private entities about this kind of AI, IoT or fintech kind of new advanced courses through Bombay Stock Exchange Institute. So this will again reduce the gap in between the industry and academia. The job role, not only job role is going to change, the business role also changing day by day. That is important. Well, before looking for the job role, how is business role, how is it changing? From the horizontal to non-horizontal, this is the major gap between industry and academia. So, I will support all other sectors support to the existing players. So, existing business people should understand about the changes. That is important. Same way, who all are there on the position of the job, they should understand about the changes. They have to adopt the new information or new changes, what is happening in the industry. If I am just reluctant for going forward, understand about changes, they should understand about the changes or education to adopt the new industry happen or new changes. This program itself, UAE India Business Festival, with that objective only we have started, and not bringing millions of people to the venue, but billions of people reaching from here to the people. This is what our, the vision. So not only bringing to the people, more people to venue, only the business class investors, so those who are really interested on that. So those people, very, very serious way we have invited, but we are reaching to all people. Why we are giving this information live? This is the new informations are coming up. So one time just viewing or hearing is not possible to change the business. They need to repeat it nearly 10 to 15 times. Then only they can learn something from that. That's why we are providing recorded versions also on our website. So these two things are there. So changes are happening. So we need to know, we need to do hard work to learn more into that. Again, the challenges of that changing technology. You were mentioning about that, the artificial intelligence is also coming in, or virtual reality is coming up. So replacing the professors. Where do you see that the face that interaction for the teaching method changing to this virtual reality?
Yeah, I know. Where do you? Yeah. First of all, there is no way to remove the intervention of faculty in the classroom. It's out of the question. The human interaction affects the teaching and learning methodology. Students will not be able to get the full knowledge of what they're supposed to know without having a faculty to interact with, to listen to, and to understand exactly the topics. So that's for sure faculty will, but the question is, what is the percentage of time a student will be in need for faculty to be interacting with them face-to-face concerning interacting with them through the virtual reality. Now, I believe there is something called blended learning environment.
Okay, fine. So blended course will happen, but another challenge, what is your views on that? The online universities are coming recognized by the governments, different governments. Where do you see that challenge in between that face-to-face teaching method and online?
Again, the challenge is education. The challenge is to understand the technology. The challenge is to teach our students the technology, because the students in the future are the future professors. So we need to provide students, our children, we need to provide our children with this technology, not only in being a teacher, but in particular to answer your questions, we need to provide our students with the technology. So they are aware of it, so they are practicing it in the future without any problem.
Thank you, sir. We are inviting the business class to join hands with us to start the new business from artificial intelligence, IoT, and fintech. And not only to that, virtual reality is also coming up. Thank you so much. It was very much informative.
Thank you very much. Thank you for Ibmc for organizing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And Dr. Nasr Nasri will be available in case if you have any further questions. We will arrange the same thing in our UAE India business counter set up in the next room. As a token of appreciation, may I request Mr. Sajid Kumar to kindly hand over that token of respect to Dr. Nasri. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Give a big round of applause, Dr. Nasri. Thank you very much, sir. Our next topic for the day is transport in the digital age, disruptive trends for smart mobility. And the session will be taken by Mr. Mohammed Shams, who is the Director and CEO of Fleet Securo Systems LLC, and Mr. Kom Mirza, he is a global techno entrepreneur and investor. Let me introduce, first of all, Mr. Mohammed Shams. He's a social and techno entrepreneur. He likes making money by changing people's lives by providing innovative techno solutions in their daily life. He was an advertising and branding specialist in his early stage, and he helped many local and international brands to come alive in people's mind, but his passion in the techno industry made him a techno guy. He is now heading Fleet Securo for the last 8 years. His new modern and innovative fleet management application became highly popular across Middle East and Africa. Currently, his team is working on a totally new concept, taxi mobility application, which will complement all the current taxi mobility solutions like Uber, Careem, and Meru instead of competing. He has been part of several business and social initiatives. Please welcome Mr. Mohammed Shams. Totally new concept, taxi mobility application, which will complement all the current taxi mobility solutions like Uber, Careem, and Meru instead of competing. He has May I also introduce our co-presenter for the same topic, Mr. Kom Mirza. I hope most of us will be aware of Mr. Kom Mirza because he is a serial entrepreneur, investor, mentor, and a philanthropist and a dream chaser. He has launched his first business at the age of 7 with a lemonade stand on the street corner. Since then, he has done business in 8 different countries. He runs multiple companies in the technology, real estate, automotive, luxury rental, cryptocurrency, investment, and media industries. I personally know Mr. Kom from his 2010 TEDx as a speaker. I have watched his TEDx speech, and that was really informative and really interesting. And last year, probably most of us would have seen the Forbes Middle East news that Mr. Kom has launched an unprecedented campaign which is set to feed over 30 million underprivileged people around the world. Mr. Mirza owns and manages over 30 companies and has made over 100 global investments, leading his title to a $500 million man. Please welcome Mr. Kom Mirza as well. Thank you.
Could you please put that picture on the screen? The one I gave you. Hi all. Hi everyone. I am here to talk. My name is Mohammed Shams. I am here to talk about taxi mobility. And today I couldn't get much time to prepare because it was all last moment things. So I just briefly made a small paper script which I am going to read now. Then later on, Brother Mirza will be explaining you more about it. Change has already arrived in transport, the current wave of digital innovation, which has brought us travel planning on our smartphone and far greater access to customer information. In that last 3 years, digital disruption has become more widespread and companies like Uber have grown to become multi-billion-dollar global enterprises. Smart mobility strive to integrate all modes of transport and avoid the vision of seamless end-to-end travel planning. Technology has a major role to play in the transport sector. In our stance, we are ready to operate as a transport innovation will go further to bring about improvements in operations, asset management, and the delivery of capital programs. Change is coming to transportation, whether we are ready for it or not. You can see it in public sector investment in intelligent streets and digital railways. Automakers focus on next generation vehicle and smart mobility services. And in the widening recognition that the information everywhere world will utterly disrupt the transformation status quo. The proportion of the global population living in urban areas continues to rise faster than capacity on roads, rail, and other types of transport. This pressure on transport infrastructure is driving capital investment estimated at over $1 trillion a year. However, you can't always create capacity by pouring and capacity will play a crucial role in rail and other types of transport. The digital age has begun and technology has brought us smartphones, real-time planning, open traffic data, and social customer service. For the first time, the passenger now has more information than the operator. This fundamental shift offers consumers real choice based on picture of alternative route, comparative pricing, and current network status. As transport operators adapt and new entrants arrive, new business models will transform the use of user information, payments, integration, and automation. These changes will form 5 disruptive trends for transport and smart mobility services. The first one, user-centered. Mobility services put travelers in control. Public transport will become personal. This changes the approach to operations and planning based on users' choice, priorities, data flows, and dynamic response to disruption. Staff will adopt digital uniform so that they have the information to support customers in control. Public transport integrated and intelligent. Transport networks will send the approach to demand and measure performance and monitor the health of physical assets. Intelligent systems will respond in real time to manage capacity and predict and avoid disruption. The third one is pricing and payments. We'll see a revolution over the next 5 years. Digitization of tickets and payments will transform metro services and allow all rail operators to follow airline by adopting e-tickets beyond contactless payment. Pay as you travel will be based simply on location. Fourth one is automation and safety. Will benefit from the exponential potential of cognitive technology with the potential to save millions of lives worldwide, particularly on the roads. Increase in safety and changes to the nature of liability will have a fundamental impact on the insurance industry. The fifth one is public and private innovation. We'll work together to meet the mobility challenges of the 21st century. The role of the public sector will be critical to simulate, advance, and protect citizens. New private sector entrants will take advantage of peer-to-peer models, digital and mobile technology, and low cost to scale globally. We'll work together to meet the mobility scale and pace of these dramatic changes will vary. The role of the digital age is going to empower the traveling customer, advance, disrupt the way transport providers operate and manage their services. This will put emphasis on the need for varied transport system to intelligently integrate and facilitate joined-up passenger journey. To achieve this, the public and private sector, from government to automotive manufacturers, must innovate and think differently, working together to ensure the growth and sustainability of transport. This will put future emphasis on the need for very currently working on a very innovative project called Entry Trip. Our partner and Com Mirza will explain about it more, and is a global entrepreneur and investor. I will invite Brother Com Mirza to talk more on this subject. Mirza will explain about it more, and he is a global entrepreneur and investor. I will invite Brother Mirza. No, that's it. He's going to do it.
Once again, please welcome Mr. Mirza. He's also known as the Habibi man. He's the founder of Habibi Coin as well. Please welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you. So before I begin, I want to just ask you a few questions. And the first question is, who understands what blockchain technology is? By a show of hands, anyone? So one person put it up and put it down, and one person is, and he's a younger guy too. So, so for some people, blockchain technology is it's like rocket science. You know, it's something that's very difficult to understand. It's relatively a new industry. You know, if in the early 2000s, in the late 1990s, if I was to ask you who understands what the internet is, how does the internet work? You know, a lot of you would have the same response. You would say, maybe we understand it, maybe we don't. And so blockchain technology is in its infancy stage. You know, the technology has been proven, it has been developed, it is being tested, but it is still very, very early for mass user adoption. It is very, very early for people to identify exactly what the best case use scenarios are for the technology. But one thing is certain. The governments, the banks, a lot of big companies, a lot of big investment funds, but they're all very pro blockchain. You know, it's a very revolutionary technology. If you look at a pyramid, you know, you have the point at the top, and you have the base at the bottom. And blockchain kind of flips the pyramid upside down, where you have all the users at the bottom who now have the consensus that make up all the rules, essentially, and connect each other up. So by another show of hands, who here has invested into any cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology? One or two people, okay. Did you make money or lose money? At the back, did you make money or lose money? You made money. Good stuff, good stuff. Good for you, good for you. You invested into Bitcoin or Ethereum or? Bitcoin? And I assume you invested in either early or recently, not during the volatile bubble. Very recently, yeah. So there's a couple of processes here. I was actually an early adopter in Bitcoin. I had invested into it when it was $18, very, very cheap. And it hit $3,500, and I sold a whole bunch of them. I said, you know, I don't know if this is going to sustain itself. This doesn't look normal. I've never seen this as an investor in my life. And you know, it's a good time to jump out of the airplane and you know, take my parachute with me. And then the price started to go up. So I said, this again doesn't sound normal. You know, and in all my history as an investor, you know, we've made 100+ investments in different companies around the world. We were actually in Uber's 7th round of financing. We had invested into Uber as well. So we understand the transportation industry in terms of the latest technology and the solutions that are being created by these mobile apps. And and some of the developments. And so when blockchain technology came around, and you know, I saw it very, very volatile market, but still in its infancy. I actually had a friend in California. His name is Dave McClure. He runs 500 startups out of Mountain View, California. And Dave said you should just put a little bit of money into this Bitcoin thing. You know, we've made some investments with them before. And he said, just put it in. And I said, you know, this is ridiculous. You know, you're telling me money into something. Actually, a friend in California, known me, I would rather take a calculated step to invest into a company and lose money investing into a company than to just blindly put my money into something before and see if it's not. He said, just put it in. And needless to say, I felt very apologetic to him after when it went to $30,000 and I made millions of dollars out of it. So we were one of the early investors in money, and we were also one of the early investors into Ethereum and a bunch of the other cryptocurrencies. Now I'm actually friends with some of the top blockchain creators, the founders of Cardano, founders of EOS, and a bunch of these top cryptocurrencies that are probably in the top 15 dominant coins in the world. Most of them are powered by an idea. And the idea is that this technology is going to revolutionize the way we conduct business and the way we track and use the technology for many different things, from healthcare to education to transportation to many different things. And the idea is very simple, is that this technology will, one, be incorruptible. It's a decentralized public ledger. Two, it will have a transaction speed which can process millions of transactions in seconds. And three, you can send money. You can send money anywhere in the world to anyone digitally. I can create, or I can take with me what we call a hardware wallet. And the hardware wallet is almost like a USB, and I can store as much as I want on there. So imagine trying to take 5 million worth of gold across the border. And three, you're not going to get very far. You can send money anywhere in the world to anyone digitally can get very far. Taking like USB loaded or 5 million in terms of this digital currency across the border, I don't think you'll get stopped or searched at all. You know, and that's kind of how revolutionary this technology is, in the sense that it's allowing the common person to remit and transfer and exchange value with anyone for anything, anywhere on the planet. You know, and that's what makes it so revolutionary. And the technology, underlying technology itself, I think, is one of the most important things. There's an initiative by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum to make Dubai itself a pioneer in blockchain technology. He wants the government services, he wants a lot of different things on blockchain by 2021 or 2020. He wants the entire government on blockchain. You know, and they did an initial research and analysis, and they said that they can save, I think, 3.5 billion dirhams by putting the entire government on blockchain, because it makes it paperless, and then they can track all these old records and stuff. I'm going to give you guys, I'm just going to see if I can, okay. I'm going to give you guys a small example of the use case of the technology. Who here has ever needed a visa in the UAE? You needed to renew your visa, you needed to get a visa, you needed to get something stamped by the embassy. You would go to one place, and there would be a typist. And the typist would type up your documents. Then you would go to the place where you would go get your visa supposedly stamped, or through the courts or wherever. And then you would go there and they would say, go back and translate it in English and Arabic. And then you would go back to the place again. You would get another translation done. Then you would go back and they would make you go back again. And you would go through this process of 3-4 times going back and forth. Then finally you would get one stamp. Then you would have to go somewhere else to get another stamp. You know, and this same process works when it comes to documents for child's birth, child visa, child passports. This works with travel visas, things like that. So imagine if there was a consensus. If I wanted to travel from here to London, UK, and I can get one stamp here and it would be tracked in this public record. So when I went to the UK office, they would be able to immediately track that it is in a public record. And these governments are working together now, as opposed to many different entities and organizations. And this speeds up my ability to process my visa. This speeds up my ability for the government to actually track where this visa history is coming from, what the history is of the person. And this allows the technology to actually work in synergy, where it allows efficiency for all kinds of services, whether government, whether court, whether legal, whether law, and in all these different areas, even in real estate and education and things like that. You know, you can have someone's report cards or grades actually tracked on, and their test records actually tracked on a public ledger. And this really is just the beginning of the technology. It's very, very revolutionary in that sense. I'll give you another use case example from our perspective. I think Anoop mentioned that we were launching Habibi Coin. And Habibi Coin is a real estate backed coin. So one of the things that is bringing a lot of people who are on the sidelines from investing into cryptocurrencies is the fact that, one, it's not backed by anything. So you have wild swings in price, you have massive speculation, you have the entire market going up and down based on rumors in the media. You know, you would hear one media report about something and it would actually go up or down. There was a gentleman by the name of Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks in the world. And he said that Bitcoin is a scam, Bitcoin is a fraud. And the market went down by a massive, massive amount. We're talking billions and billions with a simple message out on social media that he thinks it's a scam. And then the interesting thing was, through JP Morgan's subsidiaries, when the price went down, they had bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin. and he made billions and billions by easily manipulating the market by media reports. You know, and this is why when you don't have any hard, tangible asset backing the coin, this can happen all the time. There can be people who can push the market up and down. There can be people who can manipulate the market. There can be organizations and groups and entities and buy and sell in high volumes that would, again, drive the general public to think that this is going up or this is going down. And a lot of times the general public is not very savvy when it comes to investing. They're what we call panic investors. When the price is going up, they panic and say, I'm going to miss out, and they put money into it. And then when the price is going down, they panic and they say, I'm going to lose money, I better sell it. You know, and they're not very emotionally disciplined. Like, one of the greatest things about an investor like Warren Buffett is the fact that he is very emotionally disciplined. He does not emotionally get involved with some numbers on a screen going up and down. You know, he does his analysis and he knows the long-term intrinsic value of what it is that he's trying to do, essentially. So with Habibi Coin, we just back it with real estate. So the entire value of the token has an underlying real estate portfolio. And the real estate fund is global. We invest everywhere. We also invest into mortgages. We buy out mortgages and we remove interest. It's a Islamic Sharia finance compliant product. And that allows us to remove interest. So generally in a bank, you would have a 25, 30-year mortgage lifespan. You would have 80% interest in your initial years of payment. You would have 40% interest on the low end, 80% on the high end. And if you don't pay your payments, the bank forecloses on you. So using these traditional banking models, you know, you can really disrupt the system if you change it around a little bit. And so Habibi Coin buys out the mortgage from the bank, becomes the lender, removes all interest from the equation. The person makes an 80% payment directly towards their principal debt, and they can own their home in 10 to 12 years. So there's many social philanthropic angles as well that are being applied to blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. And using these social philanthropic angles, you can actually create massive social impact. You can make a difference in the world. You can do a lot of amazing things that I think are, again, at the very, very early stage of being fully tested or adopted or integrated into solutions around the world. So I'm going to jump into Empty Trip just a little bit. Before I do that again, who here doesn't understand at all how blockchain technology works? At all? Everybody, you don't understand it much? Okay, I'm going to explain very simply, just so you guys have a basic education of it. If I want to send money, I go to a bank, I put the funds into the bank then verifies that the funds are there. Then the bank sends it to an intermediary bank. So there's one entity here, there's one entity here. Then there's an intermediary entity in the middle. And it goes here through this centralized system. And then from here it goes to the other bank. They verify the funds are received. And then it goes to, to the receiver, the recipient. So this is like a 5-step process. The sender, the bank, the intermediary, the bank, the recipient. Now, it's a very complex process. Transaction times, sometimes I've experienced sending wires back and forth throughout the world. Sometimes they tell you it'll take 4 to 5 business days, and it takes 10 business days. You know, sometimes it takes 14 business days, depending on where you're sending internationally around the world. I've even had cases where I sent it locally from same bank to same bank, you know, which normally they tell you takes a day, and it's taken 3 days. You know, it's taken 4 days, which is unexplainable in terms of the inefficiency of how it works. So blockchain technology, the way it works is there's a public ledger. See, the bank has their own centralized ledger. Everything that comes through there, they track this. Now with a public ledger, you have this block, okay, this one block over here. This block has 4 corners, and it has what we call mining computers. And the mining computers essentially create the mathematical equation that actually tracks and verifies that this is legitimate in the entire chain. So I would send a transaction, they would verify, yes, this math makes sense. You know, we all have a consensus that we're tapping into. And then it creates the next block. And then the next block does the history and the calculations on the past block, and then it creates the next block. So if I was a hacker, if I was someone who was trying to take funds or something like that, and I wanted to invade block number 500 as an example, I would have to actually go through all the blocks, all the way to the very beginning, change every single mathematical equation in order for me to actually corrupt that blockchain, which is almost nearly impossible because you have so many different computers around the world that are actually pulling into this to control the public ledger. So if it's on 1 million computers around the world, it's everywhere, you know, and all these computers are basically plugged into this blockchain, and they're all making these super fast, high-powered calculations in seconds, and they're verifying transactions in seconds, and they're basically allowing something to come to a mathematical equation, a basically simple answer. So blockchain is, one, it's trustable because you have a consensus of 1 million people trusting it. Second is it's incorruptible because it's almost damn near impossible for someone to come in at a very end thing and go through all the blocks, go through all those computers and all those calculations. It may be possible in the future. They have quantum computers and they have these amazing things in the world of technology, but I don't think for the time being it's possible for someone to be able to do this. They can hack an exchange, or they can hack a person's digital wallet or things like that. They can't hack a blockchain. So that's technically how it would work. Now, this is a very, again, revolutionary and new technology. It's very confusing for most people to understand. They don't know that this is something that, you know, how it works in a general sense. And because it's so new, there's very little education on making it simplified and then making it mass user adoption. So most people won't understand it. You know, even me explaining it, I'm trying to dumb it down as much as possible, but it's a very technical thing, you know, and that's why these cyberpunks and cryptographers and people like that, these are the guys who invented this technology, and these guys are the guys that you wouldn't never find in a public open setting like this. You know, they would be home in front of their computer for 25 hours a day, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So you can imagine how, you know, how engaged they are with these computers and things like that. I'm just gonna quickly jump into Empty Trip. So we'll talk about some transportation use case scenarios. You know, and as I mentioned, we invested into Uber's 7th round of financing. Just a backstory, actually. I had a friend who had come to me when Uber was first an idea, and Travis Kalanick, the CEO of Uber, the original CEO of Uber, he's no longer running the company, but Travis had come to the venture capital community in Silicon Valley, and he basically said, I have this idea for this app. You know, we're going to use people who are just drivers on the road and turn them into taxi cabs, and they can drive around and they can pick up people. And anyone anywhere can use their car, and they can basically use this app and they can order a car. And we thought it was a great idea. You know, we said, this is absolutely interesting. It's a really great idea. And what happened was Travis said, you know, this is my idea. This is my company, but I don't want to run it. I don't want to run it. You guys, let's raise some funding. Let's find someone else to run it. And I just want to be on the sidelines. And I don't know about you, but when an entrepreneur comes up with an idea and then doesn't want to be involved in the project, you know, from the ground up or to launch the project, it's a relatively scary thing. You tend to get cold feet because you say, if this guy loves this idea, wants it to be a huge success, but doesn't want to be involved in running it, you know, should I put my money in or not? And so, because Travis didn't want to be involved, we didn't put our money in. Needless to say, back then it was only a $150,000 investment. And if we had put our money in back then, it would have been worth $800 million today. So, things happen in business. Things happen in investments. You know, we make mistakes, we miss opportunities. I had to then get in on Uber's 7th round of financing, which is what we call a late-stage investment. And a late-stage investment cost me a hell of a lot more money than it did back then. You know, because now the company's proven. Now they have millions of drivers. Now they're in, you know, dozens and dozens of countries. Now the model has been proven, so the valuation changes overnight. But I'll give you another example from Empty Trip. So Empty Trip is a company which I'm also an investor and partner in. And Empty Trip does something different. Who here has ever taken an Uber? A Lyft? Kareem? So there's a couple of different services when it comes to the ride-sharing program and the ride-sharing app technology. We've all taken one. And to be honest, it's convenient. I've traveled all over the world, and I use my Uber all over the world. It's very convenient. I just, you know, I want to go to the airport, I'm at a hotel, I want to go to a meeting. You don't want to go and rent a car, you don't want to drive yourself, you know, so you just plug in the app, you order a car shows up with the driver. And a lot of times, you know, I've taken taxis in places around the world. I was in Egypt and I took a taxi. I was in Malaysia, I took a taxi. And I was even in UK recently at the Gatwick airport. And there's no taxi cabs lined up outside. You have to actually order one, and you have to wait till it comes, and then you take a cab from there. You know, and so it's a very, I don't want to say archaic system, but it is in a sense inefficient anymore, because I could have just ordered an Uber, and Uber doesn't actually have the license to operate in Gatwick area, only in London area. So there's Ubers just outside, there's not Ubers inside. So it becomes really confusing. But I'll give you an example. The taxi companies and the taxi ride, one, sometimes the taxi smells great, sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes the taxi driver is a very nice, kind, you know, caring, servicing person. Sometimes they're very angry and they're having a very bad day. You know, and so you have a mix of taxi drivers because there's no system that gives them a rating, you know, that actually tracks if this person was delivering good service or not. Sometimes I've been in a taxi and I could swear the destination was right in front of me, but I had to loop it 5 times before I got there. And my taxi bill was 5 times higher, you know. And so you have these sense of corruption, you have these, you know, the sense of taking advantage of tourists, you know, and things like that you would have. With the Uber, with a ride-sharing company, one, it's powered by technology. So with the technology, you have a GPS system that takes you from point A to point B. They have it on their app, I have it on my app. So I can track if he's taking me the long way, if he's taking me the short way, if he's taking me the tourist way, you know, or if I'm paying extra for this service. I can also give the driver a rating. I can say this driver was horrible. You know, he was absolutely very bad. The car was dirty. You know, or I can complain. And the driver will get a lower rating. And the lower rating he gets, eventually he won't have a job. Uber will no longer give that person a job. And a driver who has a 5-star rating, Uber sends them the rides even faster. So a 5-star rating driver can drive around all day, and he'll be busy all the time, and he'll make really good money. And one good example to show you the difference between the two is in New York City. Who here has been to New York City? Anyone? So in New York City, you have the yellow cabs everywhere. Everywhere. You can literally flag one down on the road and stuff. I was once outside the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, close to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, and 50 cabs went by. And I was trying to flag down every single one, and they were full. They were absolutely full. So you can imagine 50 cabs, you know, and they're absolutely full. I don't think this happens in Dubai or the UAE. I think we can find cabs pretty easily here. And then I realized, you know, I had this app, and I could just order a car. And the car came in 2 minutes. And it was there in 2 minutes, and I was picked up in the car, and he dropped me off. And it was very simple. I didn't have to pay any cash. You know, there was no need to pull out change or the ATM or anything like that. So it's very efficient. It's very convenient. And it's technology that I think is very, very disruptive. Because when you're building businesses on things that you don't own, and it's very profitable for you, it's actually a great business. We were also one of the investors into Airbnb. Who knows Airbnb's model? So they rent you homes around the world that they don't own, that they don't pay the property tax on, that they don't pay the heating, hydro, cooling, cleaning, anything on. They actually have no share of ownership in that property, and they rent it to you, and they get a piece of the rental fee for renting you that property. You know, what an amazing business model, right? Same thing with Uber. They don't own any of these cabs. You know, traditionally with a taxi company, taxi licenses were very expensive. You would have to pay this enormous fee for a license, and it was very lucrative because you didn't have any other mode of transportation. Either you go take public transport like a bus, or a metro or things like that. Back then, there weren't very metros around the world. So you would either take a rental car, your own car, a public bus, or you would take a taxi. And taxi would get you there faster, but it would charge you more money. So it's great for the consumer. Absolutely great. I now have all these services, you know, at the tip of my finger, and I can use this technology to basically transport myself around the world. But it is not as great for the actual drivers. Because the drivers, when they drive, as an example, I go from here to Dubai Airport. I'm a Sharjah company. Let's say I'm a Sharjah taxi company. I can't pick up a customer in the Dubai side of the Emirate and bring him wherever I want, essentially. There's rules, obviously, when you cross the Emirates, different things like that. Even from Heathrow Airport and Gatwick Airport, there's rules. You can take an Uber there. You can't take an Uber from there back to Heathrow, essentially. So, excuse me. So it's absolutely great for the end consumer. End consumer has a convenient service for them all around the world. It's not as great for the actual drivers, because the drivers themselves, if I take you from point A to point B, and I don't have anyone in point B to take back, it's what we call dead mileage. Dead mileage costs the driver petrol, costs the driver time. There's carbon emissions, there's pollution, it's bad for the environment, and there's a bunch of different things that it affects. I'm going to quickly go through this. Okay, so the problem is dead mileage. And in the vast majority of cases, when a taxi driver takes a passenger from destination A to B, he returns empty to his original destination. Taxi companies have no effective means of solving this problem. They have no way of knowing who the prospective return customers are, and the return customers, no way of knowing which taxis are empty. So sometimes I may get lucky. As a driver, I may drive to a certain place and someone is there and they'll flag me down and I'll say, Alhamdulillah, I got a ride back. You know, but it's rare. Otherwise, they have to wait around, which again is a consumption of their time, and they may or may not get a ride. So you as a driver, you're stuck. So the solution is very simple. Modern technological world requires a modern technological solution. Simply put, this is an app which has a repository of drivers and passengers, and it matches them automatically based on where they are and where they are going. Drivers don't come back empty. Passengers get better value, and the environment pollution is reduced significantly. So what I mean by that is, if I know that there's a driver near me 2 minutes away, and this driver has just dropped someone off, and I can track in the app that he dropped someone off, and this driver is going back downtown anyway, and he's going to spend mileage, time, pollution, and all these things to go back downtown anyway. If I was to take a new ride and book a new car and go downtown, they would charge me the full rate. If I was to take a driver who's going back anyway, and he charged me a cheaper rate, wouldn't that be great for the consumer? That would be cheaper. That would be a better option, especially if I know that he came all the way out there and he has to go back. The driver benefits, the consumer benefits. So now all these empty rides you can benefit from. As an example, who's taken a flight and the plane was empty? Plane was empty. You took a flight and the plane wasn't full. You know, it was literally empty. And if you calculate how much that costs the airline in terms of jet fuel, in terms of costs, in terms of staff, stewardess, pilots, you know, food on board, all these different things, carrier fees, you name it, it's very expensive to operate something that isn't at full capacity or is not being used at full capacity. Very inefficient, very expensive. And if they did too many more of those flights, they wouldn't survive. You know, they wouldn't have a very good day. So that's an example of empty use of transportation. Transportation is actually one of the most widely used things in the world. We can't operate without a source of transportation, whether it's land, air, or sea. And emptiness on these things is one of the most costly things out there that affects not only the environment, but it affects people's time and transportation abilities. So really simple, taxi companies profit. The taxi companies can own a franchise of a postcode. Anytime a taxi ride begins or ends in that postcode, 25% of empty trips income is shared. So as an example, if I'm the mayor of the city, you know, I get a small share. You know, there's these online virtual worlds, and this is more of a young thing for the young kids these days, but there's these online virtual worlds, World of Warcraft and a bunch of these different online social media virtual worlds and stuff. And the young kids are addicted to these things. They, as the professor was mentioning, that there's avatars that they have of their representation, and they exist in these virtual worlds with these avatars. And there's different economic models inside of those as well. So I can potentially be a warlord or a governor of a city or a mayor of a city or things like that. And I'll earn points and rewards for all the commerce that happens in that place. And in some of these virtual worlds, they will sell you that space online in the virtual world for real money. So they'll say, pay $10,000 and we'll make you the mayor online. And then anyone who buys anything in that area, you'll get a small share of the economic profit from it, basically the profit sharing. So taxi companies and individuals, we used that same model essentially. Empty Trip uses that same model in the real world. So I can take a postcode. I can say in Al Barsha South in Dubai, or I can say in Jumeirah Beach 1 or Jumeirah Beach 2 or anything like that. I'll own that area, so I'll pay for the franchise in that area. Then any empty trip car that comes there or leaves, I would get a small profit share from, essentially. So drivers don't return empty, customers save money, the environment benefits, and anyone can become basically a franchise owner of a respective area. So instead of Uber doesn't have all these respective areas. A driver can go anywhere they want. But what Uber does is it focuses on short trips. Uber focuses on short trips, and Uber actually has what they call a congestion charge and a price surge. Anyone know what a price surge means? Yeah. That's it. If it's rush hour and you want to Uber, it's 3-4x more than what the normal price is, which means you're better off taking a taxi because the taxi price is standard by kilometer or by time, right? So it's actually more expensive to consume a convenient service like Uber during the wrong time. And Uber, it makes great money during those times because it makes their fees off the drivers. So the aim is very simple, to become the de facto mobile platform for filling emptiness. We enable drivers to find passengers for their empty trips by interacting seamlessly with the Empty Trip app. And we're the only app solving the perishability or dead mileage problem in the transportation industry. And this is just using technology. This is a fintech solution. This is very simple. It's using apps. It's using a very existing model. It's just carving a niche within a niche. And it's targeting the inefficiency or the gap inside that niche. Very simple model. Uber is a huge company. Billions and billions of dollars that they generate in terms of revenue. And their model disrupted the taxi industry, the general archaic taxi industry. I'm just going to quickly run through this. I think I may be out of time or something. So the competition, I'll give you an example of the competition. So Uber would be a competitor. Kabi would be a competitor. Addison Lee would be a competitor. And these are mainly UK companies that you would find in the UK. Competitive advantages. So power back to the taxi companies, great income for drivers, best value rides. So if I'm a consumer, obviously, if I can pay 30% less, as an example, to go from the airport to downtown or to my home, that's great. It's absolutely great for me. I won't take an Uber if I can save 30% on my ride. The taxi driver, it's great. He gets to take a customer back, and if he was going to lose 30% in terms of no money at all on that ride, he can make a little bit more income, so it's actually beneficial for him too. Earn wherever, whenever. So from the franchise model, if you partner as a franchise owner, you can pretty much reap the benefits of making up to 25% on all trips taken in your postcode area. So in London, as an example, there's tons of postcodes. If we have a great chat with the ICBM fellows over here, and we introduce something like this to India, and we take it into a population that's absolutely massive in Asia or that part of the world. It gets introduced into UAE, things like that. You have now a system that is efficient, and it's a system that just picks up on the waste, just picks up on the leftover dead mileage, dead consumption that everyone else is ignoring completely, essentially. And then you would earn commission as a partner in the franchise. So just to give you some market validation and traction, Empty Trip has accumulated the interest of investors globally. They started fundraising in April 2018, very, very recently. We're almost a month in, that you would say, into the actual fundraising part. And there's been an MOU value commitment of £12 million. 7,500 minicab drivers are on board. When they heard about the idea, they said, "This is great. I'm spending so much money to go from here to here. I get nothing out of it. And petrol prices are insane. They're always going higher, and my time is getting wasted," and they absolutely loved that they would have some money on their empty leg trips everywhere. So 400 MOUs, around 400 plus MOUs signed, 12 million pounds committed, essentially. And the investor segments work like this. It's very simple. Institutes get 20%, taxi drivers get 20%, private investors get 10%, taxi firms get 50%. So it works very different in terms of governance and structure when you're in a different jurisdiction. In the UK, I'm giving examples of the UK. Maybe the structure would work a little bit different in India because you have different types of vehicle offerings as well. You have your rickshaws, you have your motorcycles, you have your cars, you have small cars, big cars, things like that. So the structure would work a little bit different, but basically, in the UK, there's what we call TfL, Transport for London, as an example. And TfL has a license that they give to taxi operators as a taxi company. And then I can have drivers under that. I can have 50 drivers. I can have 100 drivers. I can have as many as I want. And then they would charge me one annual fee for that license, and then I would charge these drivers, essentially, and I would make money off that. So taxi companies, if I had 100 drivers and they were all taking 100 empty trips a day, or 200, 300 empty trips a day, it's very costly for me. My drivers aren't making any money. So if I plug them into this app, and now they're using the app, my drivers are actually making me money on empty trips. Just quickly to give you an overview of the team. Harun Rashid, he's the Chief Executive Officer. He used to run Islamic Design House. He built it up to a $20 million company. Is the CTO. I'm an investor. A bunch of other guys are on there as well. So the proposal is they sell franchises, and they allow anyone and everyone to get a piece of the business. So Uber, I had to invest into a very private 7th round of financing in Uber. It wasn't public. An average person couldn't go and just invest into it, you know. And I was lucky in some sense. As soon as I invested in the 8th round of funding, the Saudi government under His Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman invested, I think, $3 billion or something like that into Uber. They were investing everywhere at that point. They were just throwing money at every company. They invested $50 billion into SoftBank in Japan. They invested $3 billion into Uber and all these different technology things. And so his investment caused our investment to actually be worth something at such a late stage and such a high price. Anyhow, so this is how it works. You buy a postcode or you buy an area as a franchise owner. Anyone can participate. Anyone can buy it. You don't have to be part of the transportation industry or anything like that, and you would generate income out of that area, essentially. So that's pretty much the presentation on Empty Trip. And I'm just going to wrap it up really quick. But I wanted to share with you just something really simple on fintech. You know, now we're in the world of IoT. We're in the world of blockchain technology. We're in the world of, you know, advancements in fintech, in health and education, in transportation, in finances, and all these different things. And in these new worlds, there's a lot of creative, innovative ideas that are targeting the things that we do on this planet inefficiently, very inefficiently. And to be very frank and transparent, we do a lot of things very inefficiently on this planet. You know, and I'll give you a small example. Ramadan is around the corner. It's approaching fast. And in Ramadan, people fast all day long. Yet when they have food, it's a feast. You know, a huge amount of food. You get invitations to go to different houses and different, you know, gatherings and things like that. And there's a massive amount of food. And then you're fasting again, so you can't possibly eat all that food. You know, and what happens to the food waste during Ramadan? Anyone want to guess? There are, you're right. There are food banks that do take some dry goods, canned goods, you know, things that you can open up and consume later. But the actual food loss on cooked food, which is a huge amount and has a shelf life in terms of how long you can actually consume that food without having any kind of ill effects from the health aspects of it, is very slim. So there are some food banks that do transfer this stuff around, but most of the stuff, food during the month of Ramadan is wasted. And there's a peak usage. The grocery stores are empty. Everybody buys food in abundance. They put a lot of banquets and gatherings and dinners and things like that on. Everybody gets invited. Your stomach can only fit so much, you know, and you overeat still. You try to consume everything, and yet still a massive amount of food goes wasted. The actual number that I had heard was around 80%, which is insane. You know, and so this is just one small example of something that is going to happen in this next 3 weeks. You know, and you'll see it yourself again physically. You'll probably remember my words, you know, and you'll say that this is an inefficient model. You know, what could blockchain technology, what could fintech, what could maybe app development or transport development or things like that do to stem this problem? What could it do to efficientize some of the wastage that's going on? We obviously know that there's tons of people in the world that are in poverty, that are suffering from food. And when Anoop gave my introduction, you know, we run an annual food drive during Ramadan. Last year, I had a Forbes feature for it, and we did 31.8 million meals in those in roughly 35 days, the 30 days of Ramadan and a few days before and after. Most of it, 99%, was dry goods distribution. You know, this is something where we buy 40 kilogram sacks of flour, 40 kilogram sacks of rice, and we distribute it to a family that feeds the family for a month. And if it's a 4-person family, there's a certain consumption. If it's an 8-person family, there's a certain consumption. And it gives them bread and rice, which are generally a lot of carbs. So, you know, the healthy diet conscious people, you know, here would need too much carbs. You know, they would be on a low carb diet, you know, and there's no such thing as a diet in the developing parts of the world where there's not enough food going around during these times. And so we do it based on dry good distribution. We do have 1% that is live food distribution, cooked food. We set up centers with, I have over 400, 500 volunteers who work in 12, 13 different cities, in Pakistan as well. This year we were in Sri Lanka, we were in Gambia. We did a bunch of food drives here in the UAE. We did some stuff in Canada and US. So we were in a bunch of different countries, 8 countries this year with our food drives. And the cooked food portion is very difficult. To be honest, it takes a lot more manpower. It takes a lot more time. You have to be there at certain set times. The food gets cooked, the food gets distributed, and then there's a cleanup, and then most of the volunteers themselves are fasting, and they're, you know, going through this sacrifice and things like that. And so it's a very difficult process for me to do 100% of live food distribution, even though it's very convenient for someone to just show up and eat and then go. It's very difficult to do from a logistical standpoint. Very easy to do dry good distribution. You pull up in a big truck, you empty the truck into a massive crowd of people's hands, and then you drive off and you go to the next city and you load from your warehouse or your source of where you get the goods from, and you drive to the next place. And if you have, you know, 20 trucks driving around all the time, and you're partnering with other charities and other organizations on the ground who have a good setup in their villages and cities and towns, it becomes a lot more manageable. And this may be something we can discuss as well for India as well, because we would definitely want to expand there as well. But it becomes more manageable, it becomes more simple. So what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of problems that we can solve in terms of the inefficiency of how we do things. And I'm a big believer that technology is one of those ways that we can solve these things. And partnering with great organizations like yours, and partnering with the governments, and partnering with institutions and entities that have a user base, essentially, or some contacts or relationships where they can implement some of these innovations or creativities, you know, is where I think a lot of the innovation and the new future results and ways of doing things are actually going to come. I won't take up too much more of your time, obviously, but thank you very much, and I hope you guys learned something about something. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commerce, sir. May I request our CEO, Mr. Sajid Kumar, to take the lead of the Q&A session, please.
Any question from audience? First there, please. Yeah.
First, thank you very much for the informative session. Interesting stuff. I'll just make it quick. First, before your session, there was an interesting question relating to jobs and technology and all this stuff. And I believe we went around answering this, but this is something very important. We believe all this technology is a job creator, because eventually you would need all these resources so that eventually you know, you do your encryptors and all this stuff. Secondly, in relation to the blockchain, if I'm dealing with a bank and eventually I want to transfer money from A to B, I, as a consumer, take it in a very simple way. I don't care if somebody is carrying the money taken there or it's actually through block technology. So it's another online type of product that eventually banks would use, and it's just simply to make things faster. Yeah. Another point that relates to the empty trip, which I wonder if, because I belong to the media part, you know, and I believe there is a lot of emptiness there that could be filled in, you know, like maybe newspapers who do not sell all their inventory, or the other media stuff that possibly maybe later on we can talk about. But I believe there's a lot of potential there that also could be really utilized?
You're absolutely right. And just to touch on it, I'll give you a small example. I had a person who, I won't mention names, but he's a friend of mine, and he runs one of the billboard companies in UAE. And from the billboard side of things, you know, sometimes you see a billboard, there's a great advertisement on it. Like, you know, sometimes you'll drive down Sheikh Zayed Road in Dubai and you'll see this big, huge advertisement for like a watch company or a soap company or something like that. And you'll say, wow, amazing, look at the size of their ad. And sometimes, you know, you'll see nothing. You know, and so there's this unused media space that is all over the city, all over the emirate, in multiple different emirates. And this is, again, something that if it was digitized, you know, because there is a process. You have to print the advertisement, you know, size dimensions, then you have to put it up, labor has to go do it, you know, and there's like 5, 6, 7 steps to doing this. And if there was just digitized billboards, which is starting to happen in UAE, you know, 10 years ago, did you see any digitized billboards in the UAE? And now you see them all over the place. They're starting to pop up. They're very big ones, you know, in certain areas, but they're starting to pop up. And when the billboards all become digitized, you know, it takes 2 seconds to send me your graphics or your visuals that I can pop up in the advertisement. I can run the advertisement by minutes. I can run it by seconds. I can run it by hours, days. Any unused advertisement, I can put up something else. You know, and so this fintech innovation when it comes to some of these things, you're absolutely right. Media is ripe for this stuff. You know, from the magazines to the billboards to the online blogs and you know, even the news channels and things like that, wide open, you know, for some innovation and disruption.
Yeah, next question here, please. Yeah, Mike, please.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
This regarding the empty trip mainly. Is there any concept like empty trip for Uber and this kind of taxis? Like once they take a destination, my understanding is that they stay there till they get the next turn of trip. So every trip is a trip actually. I mean, is there something called an empty trip? In Indian concept, maybe I can say that if beyond city limits, okay, there are taxis which is going from position to destination. So in that case, they say Uber or this kind of thing next turn of trip. There is more something called Uber waiting city. Once in the concept, one place, they wait in that area, and that is the queue. They are in that queue. So those will be allocated. So I mean, in this perspective, how do you see this?
So most of the ride-sharing companies like Uber focus on short trips. You know, a person generally doesn't take an Uber from one city to the next city. You know, they do in some cases. I've personally taken Ubers from cities to cities because I didn't want to rent a car, you know, and it worked out to roughly the same rate that I would pay renting a car. I think maybe a car would be cheaper, but then I would have to drive it and park it and put gas in it and things like that. So when you calculate all the factors, it ends up being cheaper. So, but very few people do that, you know, and for long trips, so the average Uber trip, the Careem trip, the Lyft trip are around 5 miles, you know, and so you would go 5 miles in one direction or the other direction, things like that. And so it makes it convenient for Uber drivers to go 5 miles and then pick up someone and go 5 miles back. When you go outside of the 5-mile radius and you start going 15 miles, 20 miles, there's not a lot of Ubers around those areas. They're very concentrated in high traffic areas. So if I'm going out of my way somewhere, which is what a lot of these drivers essentially do in regards to taxi drivers and things like that, it's inefficient for them to then go very far outside, 10, 15 miles, and then come back another 10, 15 miles on an empty trip. So this works very effectively for outside the 5-mile radius, where all those big companies like Uber and Lyft actually focus their core focus on. They want their drivers on the road. They want them picking up frequent trips. They want the trips to be small and paid for. During price surges and rush hour, they want the trips to be 3, 4x the cost, and Uber makes its margin on it. You know, and so they don't really save the driver anything. The driver pays his fee.
It's a wonderful concept anyway. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next question please there. Yeah.
Yes, can I take the last question if you don't mind? Since you are a believer of Bitcoin,
yeah,
why they don't use it for online shopping?
Very good question.
And the second question, what is the future of the shopping mall? Since everything is going online.
Yeah, very good question. I'll answer the first one first. And there's over 360,000 retailers that accept Bitcoin as a form of payment for their products and services. Over 360,000. Most of the people who even spend any Bitcoin are people like myself who are early adopters that got in early and made some great appreciation on their actual value. So instead of me going and changing cash and then paying fees and taking out from the ATM or putting it on my credit card or things like that, anywhere that accepts Bitcoin, I can easily use that and pay for it, and it's convenient for me because I've made more money on top of it. So my milk, bread, sugar, eggs is cheaper, right? Because the dollar that I was using appreciated. Right? The general currency doesn't appreciate that fast. So milk, bread, sugar, and eggs are more expensive. And if you calculate inflation, it ends up being more and more expensive. And the price of the currency deflates more and more and more. It depreciates 3% on an annual basis. On top of so the easy answer is the new people who invest into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies, they're doing it as a form of, I'm going to make some money, I'm going to invest into this, I'm going to generate some return, and they hold on to it like gold. And most of them don't have a lot of financial intelligence or discipline, so when they do invest into it, they invest at the peak end of it, and it's very high, and then the price goes down, and they end up saying, well, if now my milk, bread, and eggs are $1,000 a dozen eggs, and so it starts to increase like that. So I think once the value to entry is easier, and it's a lot more stable, and still there's some appreciation in the currency over time, much more than what you would have in fiat currency or dollar currency. I think then there will be a mass adoption and usage of these retailers accepting it. Otherwise, there's 360,000 retailers, and I can give you some examples. Some of them have never even processed a transaction in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or things like that. Like Amazon accepts it. Amazon's huge. Jeff Bezos is the richest guy in the world now, and not a lot of people use their cryptocurrency for transactions. They use it as a form of holding it, and it's like gold, and they treat it like an investment, and it's mainly run by all these traders. The general consumer population is not involved heavily into it, and I think that's one of the reasons is that it's still in its infancy. So give it 10 years, and then no one's going to carry credit cards, or just like how a long time ago there was gold, and everybody paid with gold and silver, and then it shifted to this paper currency, which was backed by gold and silver, and then it shifted to these credit cards and these plastics that you would use that would represent money, and now it's shifting to this digital currency. And so it went to online, now it's shifting to this digital currency, and you won't find too many people with cash. You will have cash. There's still use cases for things, and it takes time for the world to catch up to certain technologies, but eventually, it makes it simpler. Everybody here has a mobile phone, yes? Some people have 2, 3, right? So I've been in rural parts of the world, in poverty camps and places where we do some of our charity work, and I'll be very honest, in a tent, I would go inside of a tent in a very, very poor area, and they did not have food to eat, yet some of the people had 2 mobile phones. No food, but 2 mobile phones. And if you look at the statistics, there are 7 billion people in the world, and I think there's like 15 billion registered SIM chips. So if you look at how much mobile is changing the world and the solution to it, it's absolutely insane. To answer the second question, I know I kind of went long on that question, but...
Yeah, so okay, we all are heading for a new era. I will summarize about this wonderful, innovative concepts and all. As a business person and investor, you were mentioning about cryptocurrency. That's a new concepts are coming up. So on the other side, for transportation, that new rise coming up with the Uber and all, both are non-regulated or beyond the regulatory purview. As an investor, how did you get that confidence level on the day one to invest such an environment? That is one thing. Second question, if our IBMC team or the, who all are joining with us with the UAE in the B2B concept, will you be interested if such innovative concepts are coming to support them as an investor?
Yeah, sure. So the first question, we live in a very globally competitive world now. It's a very connected world. It's globalization, and whatever you would call it. But you'll have some countries that will legalize something, and you'll have some countries that will completely ban it. And cryptocurrency is one of those things where the countries are waiting for other countries to make a ruling, so the regulation is in the gray area. Like, I'll give you an example from UAE's perspective. UAE, USA, Singapore. Singapore, there's ICOs going on every single day, and a lot of companies are registered in Singapore. Habibi Coin is registered in Singapore. Isle of Man, Gibraltar, Malta, Estonia has legalized it. Venezuela has legalized a bunch of exchanges. So you have all of these independent countries around the world that are actually for it, and they're supporting it. And South Korea is an example. And then you have UAE, and UAE is reactive. You have people like His Highness Crown Prince Hamdan, who's pushing blockchain, but then you have the state bank and the finance minister and people like that who are looking at the general cryptocurrency as something that, we're not going to tell you, no, don't do it. And we're not going to say, yes, go do it. Because we may introduce regulation later, and then it makes it difficult for us to go back on our words. But at the same time, we don't want to miss out on the boat if this turns into be something that, more regulation around the world is accepting. Like if the US and the SEC and different entities and bodies like that start saying, well, we accept it this way, and we accept it this way, we want to regulate it this way, we want to tax it this way, the UAE will follow suit. But if they tell you no right now, all that innovation that's happening on the ground and all these companies that are doing stuff are not going to be able to benefit. And so reactionary.
Great. So what about the investment? You are becoming the investor of the new innovative concepts.
I think it's a great idea. And definitely something that I would be interested in and I would love to know more about.
So thank you so much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commerce, sir. May I request Mr. Sajid Kumar to please hand over a token of appreciation to Mr. Commerce, sir, please. Thank you. May I request Mr. Shams. Thank you very much. May I request Mr. Sajid Kumar to kindly hand over the token of appreciation to Mr. Mohammad Shams, the Director and CEO of Fleet Security Systems LLC, please. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. That was a really informative session. We'll move on to the next session. We have the next session on India Foreign Portfolio Investment API, opportunities for the UAE nationals and corporate investors. And the session is handled by Dr. Khalid M. Abu Sahar, the financial, administrative, and regulatory expert, Al Kabir Accounts and Records. Dr. Khalid M. Abu Sahar is a well-known figure in the UAE financial service sector. He was the previous GM of Fujairah Stocks and Shares, and he's a corporate business and industry analyst and other leading business channels in UAE. Please welcome Dr. Khalid M. Abu Sahar. Financial service sector, and shares, and he's a prominent business industry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anu. Thank you very much for everybody. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Just to interrupt, Dr. Khalid is a famous Arabic speaker. If you're comfortable, you can take it in Arabic or in English.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's okay. Today we will talk about Indian foreign portfolio investment, the opportunity for United Arab Emirates nationals and corporate investors. The target is, from this presentation, to put highlight in the opportunities available in the world. I make some research regarding opportunities available or possibility available opportunity to invest. I trying to sharing my search with you. In this time, in this period, all people, most of the people searching to the opportunities, they scan and search for opportunities to development their business, economy, and others. We will concentrate on individual corporate investors. We will send them message. It is time to look to India. It is the best time to look at India. India is the world's fastest growing economy. India is the fastest growing Group 20 country. Since 2014, its gross domestic product GDP increased around 7.5% yearly. Fitch Ratings forecast India economy will grow 7.3% in the current financial year and gain pace to 7.5% next year as the temporary drag from demonetization and the goods and services tax fades away. BWC projects an average of 6.5% yearly growth from 2019 to 2023. This map, if we look into the map, India projected growth rate is best among the world. If we look at India, the percentage was 6.98%. It is the high level from all the countries, all of the countries of the world. Next, Uganda. It was 6.04%. Then Kenya 6%. 8%. The targeting is India from different perspective. India is world's second largest in the populations. Each India state is worth a country. The population in Uttar Pradesh alone, 166 million, is more than the population of Russian Federation, 146.9 million, and is almost equal to the Brazil, 170.1 million. Orissa has more population than Canada, and Chhattisgarh has more population than the population of Australia. Foreign portfolio investment is the easy route for United Arab Emirates nationals and corporates to invest in India. What is the advantage? First, UAE nationals and corporates can directly invest in India. UAE nationals and corporates can open on-bank accounts in India and route the investments. Next, the opportunity to invest in equity and debt instruments. For equity share investments above 1 year, zero tax on the profits. There are no tax. If we give some highlights at the companies, at the big companies listed in Bombay Stock Exchange, Indian companies last 5 years performance. At a glance, Bombay Stock Exchange Group. If we look to the S&P Sensex, the change was 81.3%. The price on April 27, 2018 was 34.969.70, while it was in the same date, around same date in 2013, 19.286. The change was 81.3%. Nifty index, Nifty 50 index, the change was 82.1%. If we look into the another companies, big companies, HR Motor, as example, 996.1% the difference increase. This is through 52 weeks, meaning 1 year. If we look to Britannia also, there are 864.6%. There are different percentage increase between from company to another company. If we look to automobile industry, TVS Motors, 1,672.5%. Escorts, 1,626.3%. If we look at auto ancillaries, JBM Auto, 3,018.8%. TV's Electrons, 2,971.9%. If we go to chemical industry, Lime Chem, 7,618.4%. Kiri Industries, 5,647.6%. Fast-moving consumer goods, 465.3% for Huhtamaki, PBL. If we go also to the food sector, 7,143.8% for Tasty Bites. The summary of this presentation, we must concentrate at one very important thing. The increase was happening starting from 300% up to 7,000%. This means this country had good opportunity to investment. When the companies made a profit and the company started 300% to grow their business, this is very urgent index to look at these countries. If we look also at pharma sector, we will find Medicament, PI, The change was 10,195%. Relish Pharma, 9,290%. Sorry. What is the advantage for United Arab Emirates nationality and corporates? First things, attractive growth rates. Second, over 30 sectors to select from ample opportunity for diversification. Last, many choices for Sharia compliant investments. Corporates. First things, attractive growth rates. Second, foreign portfolio investment in India. Who can invest from United Arab Emirates? Who can invest from United Arab Emirates? First figure, government and government-related foreign investors such as foreign central banks, governmental agencies, sovereign wealth funds, international and multilateral organizations and agencies. Figure 2, regulated broad-based funds such as mutual funds, investments, trusts, insurance, regulated entities such as banks, asset manager companies, investment managers, advisors, portfolio managers. A broad-based fund whose investment manager is appropriately regulated, university funds and pension funds. Figure 3, allow other eligible foreign investors not eligible under category 1 and 2, such as endowments, charitable society, a trust foundation, corporate bodies, trusts, individual and family offices. Permitted areas of investment, equity, debit, and derivatives. Equity, including shares, debentures, and warrants, listed or to be listed, both primary, secondary, units of domestic mutual fund schemes, whether listed or not, units of schemes floated by a collective investment scheme, derivatives traded on a recognized stock exchange, India depository, receipts, IDRs, other instruments as permitted from time to time. About debit, dated government securities, commercial paper issued by an India company, rupee-denominated credit enhanced bonds, security receipts issued by asset reconstruction companies, perpetual debit instrument and debit capital instruments as specified by RPI from time to time, non-convertible debentures bonds issued by an Indian company in the infrastructure sector, non-convertible debentures bonds issued by NBFCs categorized as infrastructure finance company by RPI, rupee denominated bonds or units issued by infrastructure debit funds, such other instruments specified by government. Derivatives, equities, interest rates, and currencies. Now, regarding account opening, it's easy to process. It was take around 6 months to open account for United Arab Emirates and foreigners. Right now, it will not take more than 27 days 1 month around. From the beginning, the start, the customer or investor, he need to have a PAN. It will take around 14 days. Then KYC, FPI registration, to complete the process, it will take around 3 days. To open overseas bank account funding remittance, okay, from bank A's account, CB code equity, it will take around 5 days. DBA account, also it will take around 3 days. A trading account, around 2 days. Then customer can put his orders. This meaning before, it was take some time, but now, right now, it will, the time is reduced from beginning up to now. There are some document requirements for investors who are interested to start trading in India or start investment in India markets, especially in capital markets. Individual, they need to present their proof of identity, passports, mandatory, a proof of address, bank proof, bank letter, and PAN. This is regarding individuals. Non-individuals, they need to present individual constitutive documents, MOA, trust deed, partnership deed, certificate of incorporation, regulatory affairs details, a proof of address, bank account details, bank letter stating statistical relations, category 3 only, board resolution starting that entity is allowed to invest, shareholding details and ultimate beneficiaries details, financials, senior management, credentials, photo, authorized signatories details, and ban. Thank you for giving me these opportunities. And again, I will repeat again, we want from this presentation just to give highlights for the opportunities available in capital markets in India. I think we can, through this simple presentation, I would like to, I hope to give a message for
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. I request Sajid Kumar to continue with the Q&A session, please. That was really good, Dr. Khalid. You have taken a lot of information in different industries, segments and all. And
thank you, Mr. Khalid. Any questions from audience? So regarding that foreign portfolio instruments,
that is really Dr. Khalid. You have taken a lot of
comparing to that, where you see that the potential for the investment in India to FPI. Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Any questions from audience? So regarding that foreign portfolio investments,
trading also coming down this period too much.
Bombay Stock Exchange is having more than 5,500 listed companies, where UAE nationals and other nationals, nearly 52 nationals, they can able to invest directly into the stock market of India. Thank you so much, Dr. Khalid, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. Bombay Stock Exchange is having more than 5,500 listed companies,
Hi, wonderful presentation. One question of what's the valuation of the profits they make in India? Whether capital,
thank you so much,
especially long-term capital or something like that, now because capital gains tax, capital gain tax, whether it is applicable or can they get?
That is from India's side.
No, if a UAE national invest in India,
yes,
and what are the scope of their taxation as well as repatriation of the profits back?
Actually, there is no cost or any other tax from UAE perspective. But India perspective, it is coming up for that the income tax is also coming up, that the transaction that charges are also applicable for FPI investments.
Okay, thank you.
And most important thing to note here is that foreign portfolio investment, the UAE nationals, they're able to open, take the PAN card in India, they're able to open the bank account in India, they can directly invest in their own name, avoiding the intermediaries. And the major advantage here is that we have more than 36 industry segments back in India. So once the investors are getting a taste of the different industries and the kind of return that is coming in, that is the first stage. Then naturally they will understand which are the emerging sectors. Especially Dr. Khalid has taken different industry segments, which is showing 300%, 400%, certain industry segments are showing even 1000% plus growth rate. So when this growth rate is happening in companies, naturally, whatever goods and services these companies produce, there is a big demand there. Otherwise, this company's growth will not be like this over the past 5 years time frame. So that means that industry is growing one side. So the international investors can first get the information that which are the industry segments that is growing. There, directly they are able to take the shares right now. Later stage, even foreign direct investments and other things can be rooted. So that is a long-term potential here.
Yeah, that is why the attraction is 36 sectors are there. Directly they can invest into India. The recent regulation from SEBI, that SEBI allows the UAE banks, they can act on behalf of their investors instead of opening the direct account to India. UAE national can open the account with the respective banks. Banks will act as representative of this investor. If any buying the shares and any requirements are there, bank will directly buy from India and give that assurance to them. So that's a recent development happened from India.
So does it mean that it's a separate depository service?
Actually, what will happen otherwise, earlier we were also supporting, and first FPI investor from UAE only came to India. So that time they need to open the account directly. They need to open the open the PAN card, depository account, trading account. These three segments are there. Now what is happening? Bank will open one account, PAN card, depository, and trading. And on behalf of each investors, if 100 investors are coming, they can place the order directly on behalf of them. So instead of opening these 100 accounts, one account of the bank is enough, like wealth management.
Another question is, do you have any figures to say that how many people have actually availed these facilities?
See, if we say that individual account opening, the difficulties what India was facing, or the investors were facing that, opening or getting the PAN card. So getting the PAN card within the individual capacity, they need to provide identity proof and address proof. So identity proof and address proof, that it has to be attested from the Indian consulate. So Indian consulate, for not only attesting that, they will only endorse that. The attestation should be done from the UAE International Foreign Affairs Department. So Foreign Affairs Department also they will endorse only. This has to be done from the Central Bank of UAE. So these hurdles are there for getting the attestation from the Indian consulate of UAE. So to remove all these difficulties, they have given the permission, recently given the permission to the banks to open the account on behalf of the investors. So these kind of issues removed at present, very much easy to access to all these banks, and they can start their investment immediately. Otherwise, it was taking that month's time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Khalid, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. Please accept the token of appreciation. May I request Mr. Sajid Kumar to kindly hand over the token of appreciation to Dr. Khalid M. Abu Sahir. Thank you very much, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take a short break for a lunch break, and post-lunch we'll be joining back sharp at 2 o'clock. It is 1:30 right now, so we'll have the lunch break right now. The lunch is arranged downstairs. Please join us for the lunch, and we'll join back sharp at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.